I'm going to take this occasion to remind everybody he's Mike Molyneux. He is co-host of the Pats postgame show on clnsmedia.com. He is Jimmy Toscano. And I want to remind people that this edition of Pats Chat is brought to you by DraftKings.com. Go to DraftKings.com and use the promo code CLNS for one free match play. Again, go to DraftKings.com, use promo code CLNS. Point number 3, how do you play Nick Foles? Jimmy Toscano?
Shoot, I jumped the gun, I guess, huh?
Oof.
I guess I'll backtrack a little bit. So what I was saying earlier is the run-pass option. It's been very impressive watching him operate in that offense, especially against the Vikings. But what he did against the Vikings isn't necessarily what they've been doing all year. Had some really impressive deep throws against the Vikings that I think the Patriots should be able to minimize because they play really good man on the edge. I think especially with the way Gilmore's come on the last second half of the year. And Butler is, I think, he's still dependable as is he the player he was last year? Maybe not, but I still trust him one-on-one, okay? And I still think the Eagles are going to focus on another way of gaining yards than trying to test the man coverage. It's a run-pass. So what Belichick and the coach staff, they have to do, the linebacker is going to be important on this, and a guy like Chung I think is huge.
Very much
They
so.
have to hide what they're doing on defense and not allow Nick Foles to know what he's going to do before the snap because that's how that offense works. Is once they hike the ball, he takes a quick look and he says, okay, they're coming in, I'm going to throw. Okay, they're staying back, I'm going to hand the ball off.
So here's what I think. I think that the Patriots are going to make sure what doesn't happen to them happen to the Vikings, and that is they pinch up, like you were saying. They read the same stats that you read and understand that Nick Foles, how often does he throw downfield? He's not going to hurt us downfield. Yeah. Well, what happened in that game with Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith and Nelson Aguilar? What happened?
Yeah, carved him up, definitely.
True. Downfield.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing that Belichick is not going to allow happen and not going to allow Matt Patricia to allow his defensive players to have happen.
Big yardage.
Is the vertical strike. In a game like this, you can't have Nick Foles throwing to wide open receivers 25 yards down the field.
I'll tell you one thing I won't be doing. Last game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I hoped every play that they would pick Bortles off. That's what I did the whole game. You know, Bortles, a stat
you were disappointed, man.
I was very disappointed. A stat that came up this season was the fact that Bortles threw 13 interceptions, a career low. A career low, 13 interceptions. So I was hoping and praying that they'd pick him off some point in the game. I tell you, I won't be doing that with Nick Foles. You know, I think the stat line is touchdown to interception ratio. It goes Brady, Foles, then Brady again. And so I'm not going to sit here and hope that turnovers will come. You know, I'm just hoping that they can take away the deep threats in terms of Ertz and Aguilar and Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey. I hope that's not what's going to take place in this game.
But, guys, what have we always observed about Bill Belichick's defense? He wants the quarterback to work. The passes will be there underneath for Nick Foles to hit. And what he's going to force Foles to do, I can almost bank my next paycheck on it, that $1 million paycheck that I'm getting in 2 weeks, that he is going to make Foles read and check down. And the reason you do that is because you don't know how Nick Foles is going to react under the type of situation he's going to be in the Super Bowl. And to your point, Jimmy, he wants to really change the pre-snap read or force him to check the pre-snap read as close to the snap as possible. Because if you do that, maybe you can confuse them once or twice or 3 times and create the turnover, Mike, that you're looking for.
I'm hoping and praying just like I did in the AFC Championship game. But, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to me if, you know, the turnovers don't come. You know, Patriots are probably ranked low in terms of turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, whatever the case it may be. But again, like you just said, you're putting Nick Foles in a pressure situation that he's not used to. You know, this is a big game. Obviously, he's had a great playoff run. He's brought the Eagles to the Super Bowl. But this is the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. So maybe it could happen. Maybe they'll find a way to get him a couple times.
The other thing to keep in mind, their right side of their offensive line is as good as it gets in football. And I don't know if that means you don't blitz them. I don't know if the Patriots are looking at this saying, look, we're not going to blitz. We have too many assets in the secondary that we can confuse or try to confuse Foles with, and we don't think if we drop 7 and just send our 4, maybe send an occasional linebacker in up the middle, that's all it's going to take. That's all we're going to do.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, they didn't look great blitzing against Jacksonville. I think that's exactly when Bortles looked his best, is when they were blitzing, and then that opened up the field for him to make those passes. So I don't think they're going to – I would be surprised if they maybe blitz as much as they did to at least start the game against Jacksonville. But I still think you need to make Foles uncomfortable. So you need to put some sort of pressure on him. And if you're not blitzing, you're not making him throw, because he's probably going to hand the ball off more often than not and just get those yardages up the field. Another stat that I don't remember the exact number, but when Foles is faced with a 3rd and long, his completion percentage drops significantly. So he's not – I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if it's a comfort thing. But if you get – it's not breaking news. I mean, if you put a team on 3rd down, that's when they're going to be backs against the walls, and that's where you can have your most success. So if the Pats can find a way to stop the run, or at least limit the run, and put Foles in a position where he has to make a play, that kind of gets into what you were talking about earlier, how Belichick is going to want to put the heat on Foles and force him to make the checkdowns, and force him to make those 2nd, 3rd option throws that he's not comfortable making.
Well, I mean, before I say that, we also should point out this is also the same quarterback who threw 27 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions 3 years ago. So
absolutely, and I think that's why people aren't just writing this game off. If it's not just any other backup, or else it would be we're talking about a 14-point spread here or something. Right.
I think one area, you just brought up the Jacksonville game and how the blitzing wasn't as successful. But later on in the game, when they did have a couple of those packages where they brought Chung in or McCourty in, they were able to get to Bortles a couple times. And I think if they utilize that again and possibly bring in McCourty, possibly bring in Chung, that can be huge in possibly getting to Nick Foles. You got to get pressure on him. I mean, he's not as great. Obviously, he's no Tom Brady out there. But if you put pressure on him, it'll make a tough day for him. And another area that I think will be huge is setting the edge. I love the acquisition of James Harrison on this team and what he brings to the table.
That's a great point, Mike.
Obviously, he doesn't, play all the snaps. He's not,
He's playing a lot more than he did in Pittsburgh.
And he loves it. He loves every second of it, being on the field and playing as much as he has.
He's averaging about 29 snaps per game in the 4 games
he's so productive,
here.
and he's being very productive when he gets his opportunities. And I think in this game, especially when you're dealing with LeGarrette Blount and Ajayi, you need him to be playing his best game that he can possibly have.
He can set the edge on the run, and he can help stop the run as well as try to put some heat on the quarterback. I mean, it is really remarkable that the Steelers let him go to the pit. I don't know what they were thinking. I can't believe they allowed that.
There's got to be something.
Well, they're kicking
there's
themselves
something
now.
more. I just don't understand why they didn't let him play more, because that was the whole issue.
Right.
He wanted to play. It wasn't like, I want to go to the Patriots. He was like, I just want to play.
And he still has the talent.
He can still play. It wasn't like Pittsburgh was this worldly defense. But you know what? It's good for the fans of Pittsburgh, because they have a reason to watch on Sunday. They probably won't have a reason to watch other than that anytime soon. So
by the way, that's a great segue there, Jimmy, because if the Patriots were to win this game, they would tie the Pittsburgh Steelers for the most Super Bowl wins in NFL history and Super Bowl era.
And would you be able to finally say that this is the most dominant or franchise or run in sports, in all of sports?
I don't know if I'd say that quite yet.
I think if they win, I think I would be comfortable saying that.
It's certainly in the discussion, but certainly the most dominant pro football run, even more than the Green Bay Packers in the 60s.
What about the Brady-Jordan conversation?
At some point, that's a whole other topic. But at some point, you got to say, okay, we're talking about the 60s here. Now we're talking. It's almost like that was such a completely different game where.
Right.
Yeah, they dominated it, but I mean, let's go over the competition and let's go over the talent at that point.
What are you guys doing on Tuesday? Are you heading to Philadelphia for the parade? Because plans have been announced again.
I will not be in Philadelphia. I'll tell you that right now. I will not be there.
How stupid!
Place is gonna. There's not going to be. I'm going to go to another parade. There was not going to be a Philadelphia standing on Tuesday, and it's not going to be because they won. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Having gone to college down there, I went to Villanova. Full disclosure.
No big deal.
I don't understand how a city that went through the public humiliation of Bill Belichick reading that statement to the 2004 Patriots day before Super Bowl 39 would allow Belichick to have the same opportunity again.
Teams just don't learn. They just don't learn.
They're just excited to be there. You know, some people are just excited to be there. Whereas for the Patriots, it's almost like just another Sunday.
Eagles want that participation trophy. They just want the participation trophy.
Exactly.
They're not worried about the Lombardi.
I think they want a little bit more than that, Mike. I can guarantee you that. That city is crazy starved right now.
It's going to be, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a lot of funny videos popping up in Philadelphia, around Philadelphia, like Monday morning.
Win or lose.
Win or lose. Pretty must-see TV.
It's going to be wild.
Anybody else running into SEPTA platform columns? That has to be an all-timer. No?
That was an all-timer for
SEPTA,
sure.
by the way, is the public transit system down in Philadelphia.
That might have been foreshadowing for the game.
We shall see. Well, that'll wrap it up for this edition of Pat's Chat here at CLNS Media World Headquarters. Be sure to follow us on Super Bowl Sunday.